As always, mabuhay ang bayang Pilipinas.
Ang pasilidad ng BESS ng SMC Global Power ay gumagamit ng mga advanced na teknolohiya ng baterya ng lithium-ion na kumukuha ng elektrisidad na ginawa ng mga renewable at hindi nababagong pinagkukunan, upang iimbak para sa paglabas sa ibang pagkakataon.
In my State of the Nation address, I stressed the importance of increasing the use of renewable energy. It's just why I'm glad we are making strides in this area. But as much as we desire to rely on renewable energy, we know that electricity generated from sources such as solar, wind, water are sometimes can be considered intermittent. They cannot function continuously and perfectly because of inherent factors and other circumstances beyond our control, such as the wind blowing or the sun shining. So introducing a storage component into the overall energy infrastructure provides the crucial support mechanism that shall optimize these resources, make them more efficient and reliable. With this technology in place, storage of power is made possible. Power could be stored when not needed or in times of oversupply and released whenever required on when there is undersupply. We have a little experience because the first commercial wind farm in Southeast Asia was put up in Ilocos Norte while I was governor. And the analysis always of our wind farms are very simple in that we have, at the time, we had to be able to make back the power supply from the months of October to March. Because if we do not make it back during that time, it is not a viable project. It was helped along by the provision of carbon credits that the WTO was providing for a while. But however, the most important thing, the most important problem was that precisely the peak supply does not necessarily coincide with the peak load. And there was also the problem, very simple problem, of how we can guarantee supply of the base load. And this is generally used by industrial plants, and because the cost of power is lower, they run at night. Many of them run 24 hours a day. And so that was always a problem. This is now the solution to that problem. And it doesn't necessarily apply only to wind farms, doesn't necessarily apply to only solar. It applies to all kinds of power that we are able to use. The strategy before, I remember with the Bataan nuclear power plant. Well, since a nuclear power plant cannot really be turned off and on very easily, we had to find a way to store the energy. And that was why Caliraya Lakes was created. And those lakes were created as an energy storage system. When the load was low, we would pump water up the mountain and fill up the lake. And when we needed extra power, then we would use the full production of the Bataan nuclear power plant, and added to that will be the hydroelectric power that we will use by releasing the water that we had pumped up to Sierra Lakes. However, unfortunately, the Bataan nuclear power plant was never in operation, but you can see the advancements that we have now. That was a very, shall we say, involved kind of energy storage system because it was at a very large scale. However, that now we no longer need to construct all of those facilities. We no longer need to put in that kind of infrastructure. All we need now are these battery farms that we are seeing today. And that is why it is extremely encouraging for those of us who are always trying to find ways to, one, increase the supply of power, secondly, decrease the cost of power, and thirdly, improve the mix of traditional sources of power and renewable sources of power. So these are the elements that are impacting the decisions that we make when we are trying to improve the systems that we have for power supply and for the cost of power. Again, as I said, the bess or the battery energy storage system certainly will form a very important part of that formula that will solve these problems that I had just gone through. See? Because it is novel, it is innovative, it is full of promise, this battery energy storage system. This technology is carving a distinct path towards a more energy secure and sustainable future for the country. It is clean. It has zero emission, zero water extraction, no noise pollution. Given the increasing generation of renewable energy, it is vital then that we advance and incorporate energy storage systems, or ESS, in our overall energy infrastructure. Indeed, it promises great rewards for our country. Not only will we be able to generate sufficient, reliable, and clean energy, leading to more affordability of energy, and of course generate jobs for our people, green jobs in the process, so that is a fulfillment of many of the wishes that we have for the energy system in the country. This is the wave of the wave of the future that is already in fact here. It holds many of the keys to the survival.
Ang pasilidad ng BESS ng SMC Global Power ay gumagamit ng mga advanced na teknolohiya ng baterya ng lithium-ion na kumukuha ng elektrisidad na ginawa ng mga renewable at hindi nababagong pinagkukunan, upang iimbak para sa paglabas sa ibang pagkakataon. Ang mga teknolohiyang ito ay nagbibigay ng mga pantulong na serbisyo sa grid na makabuluhang nagpapabuti sa pagiging maaasahan nito sa pamamagitan ng pag-regulate ng mga pagbabago sa supply na kuryente mabilis at mahusay na paraan. Ang kumpanya ay nakipagsapalaran sa battery energy storage technology noong 2018 nang makuha nito ang 10 megawatts Masinloc BESS ng Masinloc Power Plant mula sa AES Philippines, na siyang unang battery energy storage facility sa Pilipinas at isa sa mga una sa Southeast Asia. Sa pamamagitan ng BESS, ang SMC Global Power ay lubos na sumusuporta sa paggamit ng renewable energy sources sa bansa at tumutulong sa pag-regulate ng mga pagbabago sa national grid na may zero emissions. Patuloy itong nakikipagtulungan sa mga host na komunidad ng iba pang pasilidad ng BESS nito sa buong bansa upang matiyak na ang epekto ng mga operasyon nito ay higit pa sa pagbibigay ng malinis at maasahang mga serbisyo ng kalidad ng kuryente sa grid.